All right, welcome back. So we are finishing chapter 2 today for business math. And chapter 2 is all about net income. So this is lesson 2.6, statement of earnings. So this is, we get to calculate all of the different taxes and deductions that have to come out of our paycheck so that we can see what is the actual statement of earnings. So we've learned about federal income tax, which is FIT, federal income tax. They just did the first of each one. FICA, this is actually, and I had a little discussion about this when we were calculating this, I believe in section 3. So what they mean by FICA is Social Security. So this is the 6.2% when we did this. So this, it's always 6.2% of the first $97,500. So if it goes over that amount, we have to kind of ignore it as far as your income. Med doesn't mean medical, it means Medicare. So this is 1.45% of all of your income. And sorry, I'm jumping down here. I'll come back up to here in just a second. State has to do with your local state. So every state might have its own different tax rate that you have to pay attention to in the problem here. Local, again, also, they'll give you the tax rate for that, or they'll give you the amount. Medical, so you may have to calculate the medical based on, how much does the company pay on this total premium. We just did that in section 5. So that it kind of depends on the situation there. And then union dues, that kind of depends on the company, whether or not there are union dues. So if there is a union, usually you have dues to pay. Other, there could be all kinds of different reasons for other. So there could be, a health savings account that you're putting money into. There could be a retirement account, maybe you're putting it into, different things like that. So other can mean quite a few different things. So they don't really explain that here. They just put other. All right, so let's go back to the top here and actually read the summary of the section. If you haven't already, you should definitely have your book open. You have read through the section, you've looked at the example, and you've looked at the formulas that they provide you. Don't just jump straight into this worksheet hoping that everything will be provided. You need to use the textbook. All right, so you may have many additional deductions taken from your gross pay for union dues and savings plans. So they actually do give you the idea of savings plans there. The earnings statement attached to your paycheck lists all of your deductions, your gross pay and your net pay for the period. So they give you everything that you need. So your gross pay is up here. And I haven't necessarily pointed that out yet. And then what we're going to do is we're going to calculate the net pay. So this is the only thing in this chart that needs to be filled out. We just need to know what is the net pay. Down here, we definitely have to fill out a little bit more for number 2. But for number 1, we just have to do net pay, and they tell us that, find net pay. So net pay is your gross pay minus your total deductions. Sorry, mixing those two things together there when I said that. So with this one, we just have to add this whole row together. What are all of my deductions? So if I add all of these together, I'll know what my total deductions are. And then I'm just going to take 452.50 and I'm going to subtract my deductions. And I think I'm going to let you guys do that one on your own because that one's a pretty simple calculation there. Not too crazy going on there. You're just adding everything down there in the deduction section and subtracting it from your gross pay. And that's going to be your net pay here. All right, so number 2, we have a bit more to deal with here. So we're going to go back, and each section in this chapter, section 1 through 5, we learned how to do each one of these pieces. So if any one of these pieces is a little confusing, go back to the section and take a look. So as you can see, I have a video for each one of those sections. So Alicia Gregory is a telephone installer. She's married and claims 2 allowances. So she's married, claims 2 allowances. Her state personal exemptions total $76.92 per week, 92 cents per week. The state tax rate is 3%, so it's the state tax rate. The local tax rate is 1.5%, and the medical insurance costs $1,940, and the company pays 60% of that. So, ton of information given here. They are not really breaking this up for you at all because we're putting all 5 sections into this last one. It's a culminating section here, definitely. So you need all of these bits of information for the different pieces here. So first, we're going to look at down here for FIT. So this is federal income tax. So this is on the pages, the appendix pages. And if you go to, I believe I still have it open here. Do I still have it open? I may not still have it open here. Oh, I have it open back here. Okay. So if you go to your Google Classroom, you can always go to your textbook. If you click on this little icon, it'll open another tab here, and it'll open this. It'll open it like this. I already had the book open. So we want to go to Appendix and open it here, and this gives you the appendix pages. We want to make sure that we're using this to calculate federal income tax. They're not asking us to do the percentage way, which actually was part of Section 1. They want us to use this table. So it told us she was married. So if you notice, this says single, single again, married. So we want to go to married. And then we know that she earns, we need to look at this really quick. So she earns $640. And we're also making the assumption, it doesn't say it anywhere in here, I don't believe. We're making the assumption this is weekly because it doesn't actually say it in the problem. So sometimes we do get to make those assumptions based on what they're giving us here. So with this one, we're going to go down and it's 640. So we need to find 640 in here. So I see 640 right here. And so as long as it's between 640 and 650, we want to go through and grab this. So she also has 2 allowances. So I know you can't see the top of the chart here, but remember allowance 0, 1, 2, 3, and it goes all the way to 10 here. So we're in the 640 range. We're going to come over here, and she has 2 allowances. So we have $39 right here. So it's one of those things too. You want to make sure when you're looking at this one, because this says 630 to 640, and this says 640 to 650. So if it's on the 640 mark, you actually go down to the next one. You always kind of get taxed a little bit more if it's on the top of the threshold. So you go down to the next level. So that's why it's 39. And we simply just write 39 in here. That's it. We don't have any calculation to do there. We just had to know where to look for it. So we have to go look on page what was that? 4. A4. FICA, so remember that's Social Security. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this 640 and we're going to multiply by 6.2%. And that's what goes in here. We have to make sure that we're not over the 97,500 for the year. Once you get above this amount for your earnings, you don't pay Social Security anymore. So you want to make sure you're not above that amount. At $640 per week, we can check that really quick. So we can say 640 times, and this is June. So I'm going to roughly estimate she's had 20 payments so far. This is a horrible estimate because I'm doing 4 weeks in the month. I'm just trying to estimate where are we. So I have 0, 0, 0, 0, 8, 12. So far she's earned somewhere in the realm of $12,800. This isn't perfect. I'm not saying this is how much she's earned. I'm just saying she's been working for about 5 months, and 5 times 4, if we kind of average 4 weeks in every month, is about 20 weeks. So we're nowhere near the threshold of that 97,500. We do not need to worry about that at all. So we're just going to take the $640, multiply by 6.2%, and that's what's going to go in this FICA. The Medicare, remember, this is not medical, this is Medicare. It says medical over here. So med means Medicare. And so this one, we take our amount, our gross amount, we just multiply by 1.45%. Doesn't matter how much you've made, you still pay the 1.45%. All right, state. This is where we have to start paying attention to the problem again. So we need to make sure that we're looking up here as far as the personal exemptions. So this was something that we had to deal with in, I believe it was either section 2 or 3, because there was 2 sections on state income tax. So her personal exemptions total 76.92 per week. So we need to take that away from the gross pay. So what that means is I need to take this 640 and I need to subtract her personal exemptions. So she has 76.92. Let me see, how many does she? 2 of them. Oh yeah, because 2 allowances. Silly me. So she gets 2 allowances. So for each allowance, I get to take $76.92 away. That's not taxable for the state tax right now. So we're subtracting this amount from the 640. So her state taxable income is $486.10, it looks like. Oh, that was a 16. I wrote it off to the side of the paper there. It was very difficult to see. So it's 486.16 here. And then we can take the 3% of that. So this is 3%. Remember, of that amount we just calculated. And then the local, so we're just going to take the total amount. This one doesn't get any exemptions or anything. We just take the local amount and multiply by the percentage they gave us. So gross pay, 640 times 1.5%. That goes right here. Medical, this takes a little bit of calculation here before we jump in. So the company pays 60%. How much does she pay? We have to subtract what the company pays from 100. Remember, it's a percentage that always works at 100%. So she pays 40% of the cost. Okay. So we're going to take 40% of this 1,940. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out where to write this down. I'll write it over here. 1,940 times 40%. That tells you how much she pays all year. Remember, that's on a yearly basis. In order to know exactly what she pays every week, because this is a weekly. And one thing too, when I'm looking at this taxable income, this is based on a weekly payroll. So that's another reason why I can kind of make that assumption. If I need to use that fit table on a weekly basis, this must be a weekly payment. So I'm going to calculate this amount. This is annual. I need to divide that by 52 to have my weekly medical costs. Union dues were given to us in here, and other was given to us. They weren't really explained. They were just given. So now that we have this whole bottom row filled in, I know I didn't fill it all in for you. You can do some of these calculations and fill them in yourself. You're going to do the same thing you did up here. You're going to add together that whole row of deductions and subtract that from $640, and that'll give you this net pay. What do you actually get to take home? All right, so I know quite a few calculations going on there because it's culminating for the whole chapter here. So we're doing all the different calculations we've done in the separate sections in one problem. Lots of stuff going on. So you're going to do the exact same thing on number 3. And I highly suggest you write out each one of these. So you go fit, FICA, med, state, which you can call, SIT if you would like to, but I'm just going with the same words I have here. Medical. And then if there are union dues or other, which I think there are union dues here. So I highly suggest you have, off to the side or even on the back side of the paper, however you want to do this, write it out so you make sure that you calculate each one that you need to calculate. And it keeps it nice and neat for you. It also makes it much easier for a teacher to go back and follow along and see what you did and see where you went wrong. If there's simply just a number on the line here, There is absolutely no way for us to help you know where you went wrong on a problem like this. You should always be showing your work. So definitely let us see what you're doing so that we can follow along and help if we need to. And just generally know that you understand what's going on and you didn't somehow find just an answer key somewhere along the line. So definitely work does help us show that you understand the different calculations that go into this. So you're gonna do the same thing that you did on this last one. They just don't give you your statement here. So you're gonna calculate each one based on the information given in this word problem. I do believe then this is a teacher note. So if you're looking at this with your teacher and your answer does not match the answer given, so the answer given, and we should not just see this on your paper, is 409.60. I would cross that off, and I would look more for the answer 406.44. And the reason is I believe they left off the union dues. So that's the only way I can figure out how to get the same answer that they have there is to leave off the union dues. But those are definitely going to be taken out each year or each week, saying that funny, unless, it's a yearly payment. But they didn't tell us it was a yearly payment. They said union dues are this much per year, but they didn't say that that's a lump sum that they take out. So I'm assuming it was just forgotten. So make sure, if you're looking at this with your teacher, definitely this is the answer you should be getting, but there should be a lot of work that go into getting this answer. So just providing you with this answer doesn't really do much unless you know how to get there. Okay, so make sure, show all your calculations on how you got there. All right, so let's take a look at the algebra one here so that we can kind of finish this one up. And this one is one that's a little bit more involved than some of the other ones. I'll say it that way. So sometimes, most of the time when it says algebra, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a super crazy difficult one. It just means that they want you to take what you've learned and apply it. What are they asking you to do? Think about it. Now, we're being asked to do quite a lot in these problems. So this one's going to have a little bit more involved in it than some of the other ones that we've done. Not a super crazy amount, but we still have to pay attention to what we're doing here. So what we want to do on this one, let's first read it. So Andrew Joyce knows his monthly net pay is $5,733.63. Pretty decent. Nice. His only deductions are FIT, which is federal income tax, FIT, of $1,197. SIT, so this means state income tax. So instead of saying state, they said SIT here, of 3.5% of his gross. So we don't actually know what it is. We're going to have to do a calculation there. CIT, and CIT, let's see, they want CIT, that's city, so that's going to be the local. Don't know why they're all of a sudden referring to it as CIT, but that's, where they're going with that one. FICA, Social Security, and then Medicare. So we have all of these pieces. We know the percentages. Either they gave us the percentage or we already know the percentage from previous sections. So we have a little bit of work to do on this one, but we know if we add up all of his deductions, then let's see, we need to find, I want to make sure I'm explaining this correctly. Okay, so let me first define a few things here. So we have X is his gross pay. So we don't even know what his gross pay is. We know what his net pay is, but we don't know what his gross pay is. Y is going to be his deductions. Deductions. So if we take his gross pay and we take away the deductions, we get his net pay, which we already know is $5,733.63. So we know if we take gross pay and we subtract deductions, we get this much. This is how much he gets paid. And what we want to do is write an equation that makes this idea work. So if we want to know his net pay, we're going to add, let me see, all of his deductions. So we have 1197 plus 0.035 x, because they told us that state income tax is 3.5% of his gross, plus 0.02 x, because 2.0% of his gross, plus 0.062 x, because that's FICA, that's Social Security, plus 0.0145 x, that's his Medicare. So we have all these pieces, and that's going to equal his deductions. So we don't really know what they are, but we know we can put y in here, right? That we already said y are his deductions. And we can manipulate this just a little bit. So I'm going to take y away just for a second. Instead of writing y here, I can manipulate this around a little bit so I know what does y equal if I get it by itself. So I'm going to subtract x under the other side. That's going to leave me with a negative y. So I'm actually going to flip all the signs. So I'm going to have y equals, instead of a negative x, remember I'm flipping the sign so I don't end up with a negative y here, minus 5733.63. So I can use this for y. Because if they both equal y, both equations here, this one equals y, this one equals y, well, I can just say this one equals this one if they both equal the same thing. They both equal y. We don't know what y is, but we know they both equal it. So we can say x minus 5733.63. Right. Oh, that's really sloppy. That's a 3. So let's reduce this so that we, can see it a little easier here. So we have 1,197 plus, let's combine all of these fractions. They all have an x, or not fractions, sorry, decimals. But they all have an x, so we can combine all of these like terms. So we get 0.1315x. If you simply add all of these decimals together. And that equals x minus 5733.63. Okay, so now we're getting down already to, not being so ugly looking. So we're going to subtract this x from the left side over to this x over here because we want to bring the x's together, right? So we get 1197. These guys cancel, and that equals, and remember there's a 1 in front of this x. So if you just see a variable, it means 1. So 1 minus 0.3, what did I forget? 1, I forgot the 1 right there. 1315. So we end up with 0.8685x minus 5733.63. All right, we're going to add the 5733 to both sides. So remember, we're always trying to get the variable by itself. Once we create an equation that has one variable in it, the goal is to get the variable by itself so I know this variable equals something. I need to know what that variable equals. So everything we're doing here is to get the variable, number one, get it on one side, and then get it by itself on that one side. All right, so we end up with 7,000. Oh, nope, sorry, wrong column here. 6,930.63, and that's going to equal 0.8656x. All right, last step. X is being multiplied by this decimal here. So we are going, looking like a very ugly X, we're going to divide both sides by 0.865. I forgot the second 8. I think I said it and somehow forgot it. So divide 8685. That. So we're dividing both sides by this number. A number divided by itself cancels. So now X is by itself. X equals. So when we divide, we're going to end up with our answer here. And I set this up in a way so I'm finding his gross pay. Remember, X is his gross pay. That's what I wanted. So if you set it up in a way that you found Y, you found his total deductions, which you could have set it up that way, it would have been, just as easy to set it up so you knew what y was, then you're going to have to go back and plug it into, this simple equation over here so that you know what his monthly gross pay is. So you just might have had a second step on this one. But in this case, my answer, this is his monthly gross pay, what he starts with, $7,980. He only gets to take home $5,733.63 of that. All right, so definitely a little bit more involved on that one. We had a lot more calculations going on there, but make sure, kind of try to slow down, look at each piece as far as what are you being asked to multiply, and then um, try to kind of picture that as a total. So I hope that helped, and I will see you in chapter 3.